Hi, and welcome to this Termux how to use the command line with Termux on your Android cell phone. So just to let you know, it's really hard for me to show you Termux on my cell phone, and putting my cell phone like this in the camera and show you command line, so that's not possible. So to do that, what we're gonna do, we're gonna install first a virtual machine, Android, and I'm gonna install Termux on that Android virtual machine. So let's start with creating a virtual machine. So for sure, if you have a tablet or you have a cell phone, you can skip that part of the video because you don't need to install a virtual machine. You already have an Android. But for those who have a laptop or a PC, it could be something interesting having a virtual tablet on your PC to practice Android or to practice Termux. Okay, so let's start with VirtualBox. I recommend VirtualBox because it's free and it's a good product. So I already have a tablet virtual, so let's start a new one because I want to show you from the beginning. We have to first start a new virtual machine. So I'm gonna create a virtual machine, and the name of that virtual machine will be my virtual tablets. Okay. Let's have it like that. That will be a Linux machine, and I'm gonna use Linux, other Linux 32 bits for this one. Okay. Depending on the hardware that you have, okay, I recommend you put minimum 2 gigabytes. But if you have a laptop or a PC with a high amount of memory, maybe you can increase, let's say 4 gigabytes, but minimum, let's say 2 gigs. Okay. You create a virtual disk. Okay, sorry, my VirtualBox installation is in French. I'm French Canadian, but I'm doing that video for you guys. I'm gonna translate the menus here. So create a virtual disk right now. This is what we're gonna do. That will be a VDI image. A VDI mean VirtualBox disk image. This is what we're gonna create. Dynamically allocated. So I'm just using default right now. I did not customize anything. Okay, but the memory. Okay. The disk drive, same thing. You can create the default. It's 8 gigabytes. If you want to use that tablet for Termux or just doing a couple of tests, 8 gigs, it's enough. But if you expect to do a lot of things with that, you can increase the hard disk space. So creating right now. So my virtual machine is created, but it won't run perfectly like that. We have to customize my virtual tablet. Okay, to customize, I right click on it, and in the menu I choose configuration or settings, I think in English. I'm not sure, but this one, setting or configuration. Go to system, processors. So the amount of CPU, the same thing. If you have, in my laptop I have 12 CPU, but if you have few CPU, leave one for your virtual machine. But if you have a bunch of CPU, you can allow more CPU to your tablet. Okay. So the display, this is the display option. Choose the graphic controller and use VirtualBox Super VGA. So VirtualBox Super VGA, you use that one, and 3D acceleration, you say click on it. If did I miss something here? No. Display is fine. Okay, let's have 128 megabyte for the memory video, and VirtualBox Super VGA and 3D acceleration. You say yes, I want it, or you click on it. Storage, okay? You have your virtual disk and the virtual CD-ROM drive. So let's put in the CD-ROM drive. So first of all, maybe I can tell you something. Download Android x86 8.1, or it could be another version, rc1.iso file. So go in this website, frosd.net, and download that Android image. Let's get back to our machine creation. When you have downloaded the ISO file, you put that virtual CD-ROM. The ISO, it's a virtual CD-ROM that we can mount on our virtual CD-ROM drive. And then you're gonna choose, but because I already did it, I don't have to choose and specify where I download it. It appears here. Okay, so I have the Android here, x86-8.1 RC1 ISO. So I put that CD-ROM drive in my machine, and then let's see, other operation, nothing to change. Okay, I'm done. Everything is fine. I click OK. And my virtual tablets is now ready to boot. So let's start and try to boot this virtual machine with that on that CD-ROM drive, the ISO I just downloaded. So the virtual machine is starting, and now you can see I boot from that CD-ROM drive, and I can choose installation hard Android x86 on my hard drive. I hit enter. So first of all, we have to create, because the disk we put in place, it's has not been no partition on it. Okay, so I need to create a partition. Okay, so let's choose create partition. Do you want to use GPT? I say no. And by the way, I don't know what the GPT is. So if someone knows, you can write it on that YouTube channel. That will be a pleasure for me to learn from you. The teaching is not one way, it's both way. So thank you very much. This is my hard drive. You remember I choose 8 gigs. So now there is no partition. I'm gonna choose new partition, enter. That partition will be a primary partition. And I can choose, my disk can handle a maximum of 8 gig, but if I want, I can create a partition of 2 gigs and later create some more partition. But actually, I'm gonna create 8 gigabytes partition. I'm gonna take the full disk. That will be my partition. And then, you know, I can delete this if I made a mistake, something like that. But anyway, I just want to make sure this partition is bootable. So enter on bootable. And now, you know that it's only written in my software and not being really created. When I'm gonna do write, that's gonna apply those settings or really create the partition on the disk. So I do write. Are you sure? Because you're gonna lose all the data, but there is no data on that virtual disk. We just created it. So I say yes. So writing partition table right now, it's done. So I can now quit. And now I'm back to the previous menu, but now I can install on SDA1 It's a partition of 8 gigabyte. So yes, I'm gonna say OK to continue. I'm gonna use ext4. This is the common file system type that we use on Linux. NTFS and FAT32 mostly file system for Windows servers or Windows desktop. So I'm going to use ext4 for that Unix-like machine. Okay, you choose to format this. All data will be destroyed. So I say yes, I am aware about that. My machine is pretty fast, so it's already done. Do you want to install bootloader grub? Yes, I want to install that. And do you want the /system directory be read and write? Yes, this is what I need to do. So is writing actually a bunch of stuff. So this is the installation. So it's pretty fast, already half done. And that's all. Just take a couple of seconds to install a virtual machine. You know it's longer because I talk, but if you do that by yourself and you know where you go, it's pretty fast. So now I'm ready to reboot because my installation is finished. So if I reboot, you will see that I'm back to my installation. Okay, this is a problem. I don't want to reinstall. This is only because I did not remove the CD-ROM drive. So I reboot, but I still reboot on my CD-ROM. So I'm gonna turn this machine off. Okay, just turn off the machine. Get back, right click on your machine. Get back to the settings or configuration. And go to your storage, your CD-ROM drive here, and remove your CD-ROM from the drive. So that option in English says remove the CD-ROM drive from the remove the CD-ROM from the CD-ROM drive. So now it says empty. In English you would see empty here. So I remove this CD-ROM. So now let's try to boot up this machine again. Now we will boot from the disk, the operating system. So grub is asking me what kind of boot. I'm gonna leave the default boot. Android is starting. So it's booting now. Good. So now we are in the setting of our new virtual Android tablet. Okay. So English is fine, and then start. Checking for updates. Copying data. There is no Wi-Fi connection, so I can skip this one. I'm going to choose my time zone and things like that. My name is Eric. Send the system data. This is the only one I'm going to remove from the list. And I'm gonna add my account later. Just a sec. I choose the launcher, so I can say always choose that launcher, and that's all. You know, in 15 minutes you have a brand new tablet virtual, and to install Termux now you go in Play Store. So now that you are in Google Play, you type in Termux and then you install, and that's all. Termux will be installed on your Android machine. So you now have the Termux icon. So now just double click on it and you'll be ready to use your virtual, because when you click on it, Termux, what it's doing, it's create a virtual environment. So it's a subset. You're not really in your tablet or in your laptop. You're in an environment Unix-like, pretty well designed. From what I see right now, it's a good way to learn Linux, having some few resources. Though, so let's double click on it and I'll show you the command line. So what I'm going to show you, it's pretty basic. It's working on Termux and many other Linux, because I won't go very deep. But what I'm going to show you, it's good for Unix, for Linux, for AIX, for Sun Solaris, for Termux. Termux environment is now ready to use. And what you can see there is, when you start the application, they tell you where they put a wiki, common forum for a community, Termux, and many information. And then you have some ways how to install packages or search for packages or package upgrade. So they provide you some basic command like that to install packages. So let's start by the beginning. What is Termux? Termux is a Unix-like environment where you can do Unix-like things. So I'm going to show you some of those basic commands. This tutorial is oriented for beginners, so I will stay with really basic instruction. Okay, one of my first instruction is ls, mean list the file of in that directory where I am. And because it's my first login on that machine and I never create any file in my home folder, there is nothing to list. So that's normal, there's nothing happened. If I'm doing pwd, that command means print working directory. So this is where I'm working actually. We call that my home folder, because this is the ways we call that in Linux. Every user belongs to a home folder. If I type the command id gives you information about you. So what is your user ID, your group ID? So I can put group here. Group is mainly oriented for business. Example, if you have accounting department and information technologies, maybe you don't need your information, your tech guy going to the accounting of your company. So you're going to put security, only my account department can handle those files, not my IT guys. And reverse is the same thing. If there is something really techy in the machine, maybe you don't want accounting people goes there because they're gonna make mistake and the machine won't do it up again, So this is why group is there, but I won't elaborate that much about this one. Now there is another command called touch. Touch allow you to create an empty file if it does not exist. So I'm going to touch, let's say, my files. And because the file does not exist, touch only create the file. So now if I'm doing ls, like I did earlier, now I have a file named my file. Oh, I made a mistake. So I misspelled files. So what you can do is so you can rename the file. There is a command called move. In Linux, move and rename is the same thing. When you move a file, you have the opportunity to give him a new name in his new destination. So actually we're going to move the file where it is, but we're going to change the name during the move. So my fleas, now we're gonna be my file. So if I'm typing ls, now I have my file, okay? And but I can have, I need more information about that. I can do ls minus l, and mean the L is stand for long listing, so more detail, okay? So more detail is giving me, it's a read write. So the owner, because I am the owner, so this is the owner of the file. The owner can read, write, and cannot execute. It's not an executable. People belong in the same group as me won't be able to read, they won't be able to write, and they won't be able to execute. And the 3 last digit is the permission for people who are not the owner and not in the group. So you're not the owner of that file and you're not part of my group. There is nothing you can do with that file. But now I need to give read access to people belong in the same group as me. I'm going to do change mode, change the mode of the file, group plus X, group plus R, because group plus read my files. Now if I'm doing ls minus L, you can see there is a read here. So the owner of the file can read write in this file. The person in my group can only read the file. They can view the file, they can read it, but they are not allowed to make modification in it. Because I'm the owner of the file, I'm the only one who's going to be allowed to do modification. And but you know, if you're not worried about the permission, you can do change mode 777 my files, and then everybody have access to the file. They can read, write, and execute. They can do what they want. You don't care, even if it's someone out of my group. So this is the way you can play with permissions. So I'd not recommend doing change mode 777 and giving access to everyone. It's better to make good because, you know, we are in 2020 now, and there is information leak. Maybe you don't want to be the next big leak. So take care of the permission. Make sure you give permission to proper person. Okay, let's now check the disk. There is a command called df, display file system. In Linux, we call a mount point or a partition, we call that a file system. Just to, if you're familiar with Windows, in Windows we're gonna say a disk, like a C, the disk D, the disk E, F. In Linux we say file system, and we don't give a letter, we give a mount point in the directory. So this is the file system I have actually, that has been installed. And if I'm doing pwd again, the print working directory where I am in under /data something. So that means I'm working on this file system actually. So if I fill up my home directory, that will fill up the disk /data. /data is, you know, those numbers are not easy to read. So when you do df minus h stands for human readable, so display the file system but made it human readable. So now it's easier to say, okay, my /data is 7.7 gigabytes and I still have 5.8 gigabyte available. So this is the way to read this information from the df command. Okay, let's talk about another great command. There is a command call date. It gives you the actual date if you want to know what date we are. There is another command called cal, stand for calendar. So it gives you the calendar of the month, and you highlight the current days of the month. But if you say calendar April 2020, instead of giving you August, now it's showing April 2020. And if you want the whole year, you say calendar 2020, and you have the whole year, and the today's date is still highlighted. So it's a good command to if you need a calendar. That's all. And let's check for other command. I'm gonna get back to my file. Okay. I will continue my explanation. Okay, you have the permission. I told you about that earlier. You have the owner and the group of the file. The number one here, it's because Linux is working with inode. I'm gonna explain that because it's a beginner training today. I won't go very deep with this inode and symbolic link, but you're gonna see that when you're gonna be more advanced user. Let's forget about that at this moment. You don't need it. Okay. The 0, it's the size of this file. So this file is empty because I just touched the file and never put any information in it. This is the creation of the file, not the creation, but the last modification. Sorry, the file has been, the last time it has been modified, it's today. A couple of minutes ago. If I want to modify the file, I'm gonna edit the file with an editor. I'm familiar with VI. Some people not really like VI or Vim, but you can use the editor you want. But I'm gonna show you VI and only basic command. I won't really elaborate on VI because there is so many things you can do. I will just stay with basic things. So VI my files. By the way, I forget to tell you, but when I put M and I push Tab key, the file name is filled up for me. I don't have to write everything. It's filled up. So you just put one letter, you say Tab, and that's all. You press Enter. And VI has not been installed by default, so I'm gonna do pkg install Vim, the Vim packages. So now it's checking in every repo that I have the default one installed with the Android, and says, okay, I found your package. That package, after the operation, 28 megabyte additional disk space. Are you sure you want to install that? I say yes. Yes, I'm sure. So installation is done. So let's get back to my file. I say VIM, sorry, tabulation. And I'm in VI in my empty file, for sure. So VI, you have, if you type something that doesn't work, actually, you have to type I, like insert. And then when you press I, now you can begin your typing. Okay. So hello world. This is my first file done in Termux. I love Termux. So let's say that you wrote this file, and then you press escape to get out of the insert mode, because you remember I press I, then I type my text, and escape to get out of this insert mode. Now, if I want to save and quit, I do column. So now you see, let's get back. My cursor is here. As soon as I type it column, the cursor goes here. And I can type a VI command here. So I'm going to say write, W means write, and Q, quit. So just write and quit, and I press enter. Now if I'm doing ls minus L of my files, now you can see we have 0 bytes in it, but now we have 65 bytes in this file. And if I don't want to go in VI, but I want to view the content of this file, there is a command called cat my files, and it says, hello world, this is my first file done with Termux. I love Termux. So this is what I wrote a couple of seconds ago. So this is how you can create file. You can copy a file also. Let's say copy. I want a copy of this file, my file, and I'm gonna call it my file 2. Okay, I want to name it like that. Now I have 2 files. They have the same amount. You know, the file 2 now don't have the same permission as the previous one, because this one goes with the default permission. So if you want to change the permission, you can do it. So now let's edit my file. You know, now when I type in tab, because I have 2 files almost the same name, the tab stop here. If I want to go with the next one, I have to continue to write the file name. So now I'm in my second file. I can move down with the arrow key, and when I'm in the bottom and I want to insert more text, I have to press I to get in the insert mode, and I put some dash and say okay, I'm done. But anyway, and then escape to get out of that insert mode. A column again, the cursor is now here, write and quit, and that's all. Now my file is having 65 bytes, but my file 2 have 107 bytes. So there's 2 different files. So you can work on one file one day. So let's So this is for file. I won't go further with this. I think it's good enough. But if you need more, just let me know. Written information here under that videos. You can comment. If you need some more explanation, sometimes you just let me know. I'm gonna give you more. I'm gonna write you directly, or I'm gonna post a new video with information. So let's try to program a simple C program, just a hello world in C. I'm gonna say, okay, my hello world, I'm gonna call it like that, mhw, or just hw.c. So hw.c is my first C program. It just print a hello world, okay? So I'm in VI again. I press high to get in the insert mode, and then I start coding. So include stdio.h. I do the main function, and I say printf hello world. \n, it's stand for line feed. \n, it's when you send something on the screen, it make the cursor go on the next line in the first column, so it's a line feed, okay? If you don't do that, the cursor will stay and you're going to continue on the same line. So hello world, and that's all. This is my first C program, pretty simple. So column, So I press escape to get out of this insert mode. I column, right quit. If I do ls-l, I have a hello world.c. So I need to compile that now, because C language, it's a compiled language. It's not interpreted. So let's say GCC, so GNU C compiler. This is what GCC means. GNU, it's a general public license. C compiler. So I'm going to use this one with my source code and the object, the binary. I'm going to call it hello, well, just HW. That will be my binary. Okay, so I need to install pkg installed C language. So I need to install the package for the C language that has not been installed by default. So yes, it's gonna use 200 megabyte to 244. So I say yes, no problem. Installation in progress, almost done. So more than half. Okay, good progression. So everything is done now. So just to let you know, there is you can use up arrow in your keyboard. Up arrow, go back to your command history and bring back the last command you did. You know, if I'm doing up arrow, you can see all the command I did. Down arrow is going back. There is a command called history. It shows you the first command I did today. It's ls. Then I do pwd. I touch a file. So everything is written in a file called the bash history. Okay, just to let you know. So I'm doing up arrow, and I'm gonna go back to try to compile now my C program, because you remember I tried to compile because the package does not exist. I installed the package, but now let's try to recompile. So it worked. No error in my code. Yeah, but that was a pretty simple code. Nothing for that. So now I have a new file here, lworld, and okay, let me explain you something, because if I type in hello world, it won't work. It says the command does not exist. Maybe you have to install a package, but no, I don't have to install a package. It's a command I just created a couple of seconds ago. But the way it works, there is in the Termux environment a variable called path. Path, it's a variable. When you type a command, it doesn't matter if it's hello world or ls or pwd. What Termux is doing is looking into this folder to see if the command I type exists. And because HW is not in that folder, it's going to look into this folder. And then it's going to conclude, okay, your command does not exist. I can't find your command. So there is two ways to execute my file. I can say /hello world. I know dot mean the current folder. So now my program is working. It's a hello world, because I tell Termux, okay, don't search in the path. Take the one I have here, right here. So now it's working. Or I can modify my path variable. So I can type in export path equal. I put a dot, column, and the rest of the path. Now if I display my path, you can see it's pretty the same as we have before, but now it's gonna look in the current folder, then it's gonna look here, then it's gonna look here. So now if I'm typing hello world, it's working because now he's looking in the current folder first, and he says, okay, your command exists. He execute the command, and then you have your hello world. So this is the way you Termux or any Linux like worked. So I hope you understand. I hope I'm not too going into too complex things for you, because it's your first try with Termux. So now I'm gonna send you just command fast without too much explanation. We're gonna maybe later do another video to give you more on Termux. Okay. So there is a command called free. It tells you if you have a swap file and your memory. The command called vmstat, virtual machine statistics. I put a parameter, let's say every 3 seconds. So it's gonna give me the statistic of the run queue, the swap, the memory, how the swap file. Does my machine swap, or do I have a bunch of input output going on? Is my CPU is idle? Actually my CPU is idle. Nothing goes on this machine, and that's for sure. I'm the only one. Control C to get out of this. So I break that. Another command, PS. PS shows the process. So I'm in a bash right now and I did PS. So this is my process. But if I want the whole process on the machine, I can say PS minus F, EF, and then I have every process running on the machine. So you can see what's going on the server, if processes are running properly. There's another command, PS minus F. When there is a lot of things like that, sometimes you want to show me only in the PS grep, let's say x86. So PS gonna show all of these lines. You're gonna put those lines to grep. A grep means get regular expression, and this is a regular expression. So to understand regular expression, I could put a video only on that. But actually, what you need to understand with a pretty simple expression like that, show me only the line containing x86. So there is only one line. If I'm looking at that here, can I see that line? It's here. Org Android underscore x86 dot analytics. So instead of viewing every line, I view only the one that I grab. So it's another wonderful command. And what else? Okay, I'm gonna terminate on that, but I'm just add a couple of information about file descriptor and file stream that we call. Okay. Every time you type a command in Termux, there is 3 files open, and they have a file descriptor for them. The first one, it's 0. The file descriptor is 0, called stdin. Let me type this for you. 0 stdin. Okay. 1 std out. I just do echo just because if you don't understand very well what I said, you're gonna have it written in the video, so it will be easier for you. And file descriptor number 2, or the third one, stderr. So every time you launch a command, those files are open automatically. This is why I'm gonna explain the pipe later. You know the pipe here I did. it put the standard output of this command, it's gonna be the standard input of that command. So that won't use the standard input, will be the standard output of the previous one. Okay, let's give you an example. You remember 0 is my standard input. Standard input, it means where the input in that computer is going to be the default one. It's the keyboard. Okay, when I want to input something in the computer, I have to type it in my keyboard. That's input device, the default input device. STD out, it's the standard output. So if your program do something and you need to output something to the user, you're gonna output by default on the screen. So the screen is the default output. And if an error happened, where do I have to send error? By default, it's the screen too. So error and normal things will be shown on the screen for the user. But you have the ability to separate those channels. I'm gonna give you an example. I'm doing my ls-l. You remember I have those files, but I don't want to list all of those files. I'm gonna list ls-l, hw only, hwc, hw.c, and this file. And maybe you guess that file does not exist, and you're right. So if you can see, I have an error here. I cannot access this file. No such file or directory. And then I have my two files. This one has been sent on the standard error, the channel number 2, and that information has been sent on the standard output, the channel number 1. I need to separate those channels now. Let's do ls-l, 1 greater sign. So my standard output, I'm gonna send that to a file called log.stdout. And 2 greater sign. So my standard error is gonna be sent in log.error file. I call it like you can put the name you want. There's no syntax for that. The idea is doing a command, and instead of sending that to the screen, you have the ability to change the destination of the information. So now nothing happened on the screen because the standard output and standard error has been redirected to files. So now I have 2 more files here, log error and log stdout. If you remember, I show you the cat command. So what's going on with stdout when I type in my command? You have those 2 lines. And do I have error in my command? Let's see if I have error with my command. Yes, I have error. No such file or directory for this one. So you can handle things like that. If you want to use the keyboard, you can read from the keyboard. Okay, let me echo $H, the age of somebody. That age variable has never been assigned because I never did anything about age. Let's say I want to read your age. So read age. So now the cursor is waiting for something from the keyboard. So let's say I'm gonna say 87. Let's imagine the age of someone, and the person is typing 87. They have 87 years old. Could happen. I press enter. So now I'm back with my cursor. If I'm doing echo age, so age variable now have 87. So I just read the age from the keyboard. So let's imagine I have a file called age.txt, I to insert. So I press I to insert, and then I'm gonna put 34. Escape to get out of this insert mode. Then colon, the cursor back here, right quit, and that's all. So now I have a file named age.txt, so I can read age, and my standard input, take it from age instead of the keyboard. No longer read on the keyboard, read in that file now. Read the information from this file, so the cursor is not asking me for anything on the keyboard. I can say echo age, and now I have 34, because he read that 34 from the file, no longer the 87 from the keyboard. So this is how we play with redirection. And just to let you know, a normal system administrator never use 0 and 1, because this is the default value. Okay, so when people do lower than sign, they don't put 0. Okay, because this is the default value. If you don't put any number, by default, lower than sign, it's 0. So you don't have really to bother. But I put it just for your understanding. But in real life, you never put that, because this is the default value. The same thing when I did, let me search in my command, the number 1, normal system administrator, don't put it, because 1, it's the default value when you do greater than sign. But the 2, there is no default value for this one. You have to specify the 2, and that's all. So that will be enough, I think, for this first presentation. You know now how to install a virtual tablet in VirtualBox. So when you have a virtual tablet, I said a tablet because of the screen size, but if the screen was smaller, it's going to be a cell phone. So you can use Termux on a virtual machine. You can use Termux on your hard tablet or hard cell phone. And now you know all the basic command, not all, but some basic. I'm going to show you more on another video, but for now it's enough. Let's practice those commands. When you're going to master those commands, just let me know, and maybe during that time I'm going to put in place another video to give you more basic to intermediate, to allow you to do more with this wonderful world, the command line. We call that command line. Termux is one application to provide you a command line, but there is a bunch of them. Term in Linux, example, SSH to allow to connect to a remote computer to get into the command line. But there is a bunch of them. As soon as you know the command line, you're gonna be able to play on many Linux basic command. So thank you for your viewing, and I hope you enjoy and you learn a lot of things from that videos. See you soon.